Alright, chapter 11, 12, and 13 paper. Each student must explain and demonstrate the importance of teaching, learning, and the acquisition of motor skills. Must include the terms verbal instruction, cues and feedback, cognitive, associative, autonomic stages of learning. No definitions found, just considered understood. So let's talk about each one of these. Obviously, verbal instruction is very important, and when we're given verbal instruction, we're talking about giving cues and giving feedback. Cues are short, very specific words that describe a skill. For example, you have beef, bend, elbow, extend, and follow through for basketball, or you may have squash the bug in baseball. Those are cue words for participants to remember how to perform those skills. We might say I want you, and I want you is used for throwing. All right. And so you have these nice little cue words or cue phrases that individuals can remember that go along with what you teach them. All right. So verbal instruction is very important. Cue words are very important to teaching and learning. And then feedback. When we give feedback, we want positive and specific feedback. All right. We want to give feedback that is very specific to the errors that are being performed. All right. We don't want to say just good job, or we don't want to say swing harder. All right. Or we don't want to say move to the left. All right. We want to give them specific feedback of that's directly pertains to the actual error or mistake in performance that is happening. So we're giving cues. We give positive and specific feedback. All right, and then we can talk about these cognitive, associative, and autonomic stages of learning. The cognitive stage of learning is the first stage of learning in which individuals are thinking about, how to do a back handspring. They've never performed a back handspring before, but they kind of can think about how to do it. The associative stage is where the participant actually begins to try to perform the skill, tries to perform the back handspring. They can't do it right, all right, and they have to think through the skill, every movement of the skill. They're thinking about how to do it as they do the skill. That's the associative stage. And the autonomic stage of learning is that stage of learning where everything is automatic. They don't have to think about it anymore. They can just perform the skill without thinking. Now, most people don't ever get to the autonomic stage of learning. All right, most people stay in the associative stage of learning. The example I like to give is that I've been swimming for 10, 11, 12 years now since I got out of college. And I've been learning the entire time. And every stroke that I take, I'm thinking about it. All right, I'm thinking about my stroke still. I'm just not an automatic swimmer. I'm definitely not in the autonomic stage. I'm getting closer, much, much closer. All right, but I'm still pretty much in the associative stage of learning. Now, why is this important to teaching and learning? These cues, obviously, as you can see, we know that every person who learns a skill goes through the stages of learning, and a teacher has to understand. All right, and they have to be able to give those cues and that feedback. All right, to not only help them see it and understand cognitively the skill, but they need to be able to move into that associative stage of performing the skill to the best that they can. They need to be able to get into the specific technique or what you taught them. All right, so we're teaching them something, and they need to be able to repeat it, and we do that with cues. And then we got to give that feedback, and that feedback is going to help them to become even better. For example, I can swim all day long, but if I don't have someone telling me say, oh man, uh, your hand is too high in the water, all right, or you're not catching water, you're not pulling back, then I'll never know because I can't see myself perform the skill, all right. That associative stage is where errors take place, all right. We learn by making errors. You can't learn without making errors. So from a teaching standpoint, we want to create situations in which our students make errors. Once they make those errors, then we're going to come back and we're going to correct them. Kind of like we're doing with this paper here. You guys made a lot of errors. Now we're going to come back, talk about it, and correct them. All right? And I can kind of see that the associative stage is not quite spelled right uh, in this assignment right here. All right. So that's verbal instruction, cues and feedback, and cognitive, associative, and autonomous stages of learning. We, as professionals, we use these. These are very, very important to us. How we use them? Well, we use them in teaching and learning. This is why it's so important. All right. With verbal instruction and cues and feedback, in the cognitive, associative, and autonomous stages, you can use examples in how they're used, how it's performed, why it's important to the student, why it's important to the teacher. All right, that's the chapter 11, 12, and 13 paper. If you guys want to redo it, please do. If you need to score better, please do. Let me know that you understand what these terms are and why they are important to us. All right, thanks.